Have you ever noticed how letting go feels scary at first, but then gives you so much freedom? I spent years holding on to things I thought would make me happy after 65. The big house, all my old memories, trying to please everyone around me. But you know what? True happiness came when I started letting these things go. Today I want to share 7 things I released that changed everything for me, and they might just change things for you too. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. You don't need complicated strategies or life-changing decisions. You just need to be ready to let go. And I'll show you exactly how to do that. I am David Harrison, and welcome to this channel. I've dedicated myself to sharing wisdom about living well in our golden years. From practical tips to heartwarming conversations, we'll discover together how to make these golden years truly shine. Subscribe to stay connected and inspired. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference for me. Ready? Let's start with the first one, which caught me completely off guard when I figured it out. Let go of the good old days nostalgia. Those good old days you keep thinking about? They're like a comfortable old chair that's actually keeping you from getting up and dancing. I spent hours flipping through my photo albums, telling stories about remember when, and thinking nothing could be as good as those golden memories. My grandkids would ask me about my day, and I'd end up telling them about 1975 instead. Then something clicked. Every minute I spent wishing I could go back to the past was a minute I wasn't seeing what was right in front of me. My grandson's first baseball game, my granddaughter learning to bake cookies with me, the morning sunlight streaming through my kitchen window while I sipped my coffee. These moments were slipping by unnoticed because I was too busy looking backward. Here's what nobody tells you about nostalgia. Those memories you're holding on to, they weren't perfect when you lived them. Remember the stress of raising kids, the mortgage payments, the arguments with your spouse? Somehow our minds filter all that out, leaving only the highlight reel. And that's okay. It's nice to remember the good times. But when those memories become a wall between you and today's joy, that's when we need to make a change. So I started small. Each morning, I wrote down one good thing about that day. Just one. Some days it was big, like my daughter's surprise visit. Other days it was tiny. The cardinal that showed up at my bird feeder, the perfectly ripe peach I had with breakfast, the way my neighbor waved hello on her morning walk. And you know what happened? Those little moments started adding up. I began noticing more and more of them throughout my day. Now, when my grandkids ask about my day, I tell them about today's adventures. Sure, I still share stories from the past, but they're not my main focus anymore. I'm too busy making new memories, writing new stories, and living right here, right now. Want to try this yourself? Start with that one good thing each day. Write it down, say it out loud, and share it with someone. Watch how your eyes open to the beauty that's happening right now. Your story isn't just about your past, it's still being written every single day. Number 2. Toxic relationships or unfulfilling social obligations. Do you know those friendships and social commitments that leave you feeling drained? For years, I kept showing up to monthly lunches where everyone complained about their lives. I'd drag myself to committee meetings where nothing got done. I stayed friends with people who only called when they needed something. Why? Because I thought that's what good people do. Then my wise friend Sarah said something that changed everything. She told me, "Your time is precious. Spend it with people who make your heart feel lighter." At first, I felt guilty about stepping back from certain relationships. But my energy was limited, and I had to ask myself, who truly brings joy to my life? I started paying attention to how I felt after spending time with different people. Some friends filled me with warmth and laughter. Others left me feeling tired and negative. So I made a choice. I began saying no to those draining monthly lunches. I stepped down from committees that weren't making a difference. When toxic friends called, I kept conversations short. Something wonderful happened. I had more time and energy for the people who mattered. My weekly coffee dates with my neighbor became sacred time. The book club where we share stories and support each other became a highlight of my month. My relationships grew deeper and more meaningful because I chose quality over quantity. You can start small. Next time someone invites you to something, pause and ask yourself, will this add joy to my life? If the answer is no, it's okay to politely decline. Your time and energy are valuable. Choose to spend them with people who light up your world. Number 3, shift from leaving a legacy to living a legacy now. I used to worry constantly about what I'd leave behind. I wanted my grandchildren to remember me through photo albums, letters, and maybe even a trust fund. But I was so focused on tomorrow that I was missing the chance to make a difference today. The wake-up call came during a family dinner. My grandson asked me about my first job, and suddenly the whole table was listening. Stories poured out, mistakes I'd made, lessons I'd learned, victories I'd celebrated. I saw how sharing my experiences right now was more valuable than any material legacy I could leave behind. That's when I stopped writing letters after I was gone and started having real conversations today. Instead of just setting aside money for my grandkids' education, I started teaching them about budgeting and saving. Rather than hoping someone would remember my cookie recipe, I started baking with anyone who wanted to learn. My legacy isn't something that starts after I'm gone. It's growing right now in every conversation, every lesson shared, and every moment of connection. I volunteer at the library teaching seniors about computers. I share my gardening knowledge with neighbors. Each day brings new chances to pass on what I've learned. You don't have to wait to make your mark on the world. Start today. Share your stories. Teach your skills. Give your time. Your legacy isn't about tomorrow, it's about all the lives you touch today, one moment at a time. Number 4, the fear of not being useful anymore. When I retired, I felt this crushing fear of becoming useless. After 40 years of being needed at work, needed by my kids, needed by everyone, suddenly my calendar was empty. I'd wake up and wonder, what's my purpose now? My whole life, I'd measured my value by how much I could do for others. One day, my daughter called me in tears about her marriage. I didn't have any solutions, I couldn't fix it. All I could do was listen. For 2 hours, I just sat there, phone pressed to my ear, making small sounds of understanding. In the end, she thanked me. "Dad," she said, "I feel so much better just having you hear me out." That conversation opened my eyes. Being useful isn't always about doing things. Sometimes it's about being present. When my grandson wants to tell me about his video games, I don't understand half of what he's saying, but my attention means the world to him. When my neighbor lost her husband, she didn't need casseroles. She needed someone to sit with her in silence. Now I see how my hard-earned wisdom and time are gifts. Young parents at church ask my advice about raising kids. Friends value my perspective on their problems because I've lived through similar situations. My presence, my experience, my ability to truly listen, these matter more than any task I could complete. Your worth isn't in what you do, it's in who you are. The simple act of being there, really being there for others, is one of the most valuable things you can offer. That's something I wish I'd understood years ago. Number 5. Attachment to material things as a measure of worth. My house used to be packed with stuff. China sets waiting for special occasions. Clothes with price tags still attached. Furniture I kept because it was expensive. And books I'd never read again. Each item felt like a piece of my identity, a measure of my success. Then my friend Mary moved into a tiny apartment. She kept saying how free she felt, with less stuff. I thought she was crazy. But I started noticing how much time I spent organizing, cleaning, and maintaining all my things, and how often I felt overwhelmed by all the stuff surrounding me. So I started small. Just one drawer in the kitchen. I found 5 spatulas. Why did I need 5 spatulas? I kept my favorite and gave the rest to my neighbor's daughter, who was furnishing her first apartment. The joy on her face when she saw those simple kitchen tools felt better than keeping them ever had. That one drawer led to another, then a closet, then whole rooms. Each item I let go of lifted a weight I hadn't known I was carrying. The china set? It went to a young couple who use it every Sunday for family dinner. My excess furniture found homes with people who needed it. Those books. The library was thrilled to have them. My house isn't empty now. It's filled with things I truly use and love. But more importantly, it's filled with space to move, to breathe, to live. Your stuff doesn't define you. What matters is the memories you make, the love you share, the life you live. Everything else is just stuff. Number 6. Redefine retirement from leisure to purpose. When I first retired, I thought my days would be filled with golf and afternoon naps. That's what retirement is supposed to be, right? 2 weeks in, I was bored out of my mind. My friends talked about their golf scores and cruise plans, but something felt missing. One morning, I walked past the community center and saw a sign for a watercolor class. I'd never painted before, but something pulled me through that door. Soon I was spending Tuesday mornings learning about brush strokes and color theory. The teacher mentioned they needed volunteers to teach art to kids after school. Before I knew it, my Thursdays were filled with little faces eager to create. That's when retirement clicked for me. It wasn't about stopping, it was about choosing. Some days I paint. Others I mentor new retirees through our community program. I still play golf and take naps, but now they're part of a bigger picture. My calendar has white space for rest and blocks of time for things that fire me up. Last month, I started taking Spanish lessons. Next week, I'm helping organize our neighborhood's first art fair. My friends still talk about relaxing, but I've found that mixing purpose with pleasure brings deeper satisfaction. You get to write this chapter of your life however you want. Retirement isn't an ending, it's a beginning. You've got time, wisdom, and freedom. Use them in ways that make your heart sing. Take that class you've been curious about. Join that community project. Find what lights you up. Number 7. The need to please everyone. I was the king of yes. Yes to hosting every family dinner. Yes to joining committees I didn't care about. Yes to babysitting when I had other plans. Why? Because I wanted everyone to like me. I thought saying no would make me a bad friend, father, grandfather. My turning point came at my grandson's school concert. I was so exhausted from helping with 3 different church events that I fell asleep in my seat. I missed his solo, the moment he'd practiced for weeks to share with me, all because I couldn't say no to other people's requests. That night, I made a list of everything I'd said yes to in the past month. Then I circled the things that truly mattered to me. The gap between those circles and the full list? That was my wake-up call. I was giving my time to things that didn't fill my cup, while missing moments that really mattered. Now I've got a new rule. Before saying yes, I pause and ask myself, do I want to do this, or do I just want to avoid disappointing someone? It's still hard sometimes, but watching my grandson's face light up when I'm fully present for his moments, that's worth any temporary discomfort of saying no to other things. Your time is precious. Your energy is limited. Saying no to things that don't matter means saying yes to things that do. Start small. Next time someone asks for something that doesn't feel right, take a deep breath and say, "I'm sorry, I can't this time." Feel how that freedom feels. You know what I've learned on this journey? Freedom and joy often come from opening our hands, not closing them tighter. Those 7 things I let go of. The endless nostalgia, draining relationships, need to feel useful all the time, extra stuff cluttering my life, old ideas about retirement, trying to make everyone happy. Each one made space for something better. When you stop living in yesterday's memories, today becomes brighter. When you choose relationships that lift you up, your heart feels lighter. When you share your legacy now instead of worrying about tomorrow, life has more meaning. When you know your worth isn't in your productivity or possessions, you can finally breathe. When retirement becomes a beginning rather than an ending, every day brings new possibilities. And when you stop trying to please everyone, you can finally start living for yourself. I'm curious, which of these 7 things struck a chord with you? Maybe you've been holding on to something that's ready to be released, or perhaps you've already started this journey. Share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your story. And if you know someone who might need to hear this message, send this video their way. Sometimes all we need is a gentle reminder that it's okay to let go. Hit that like button if this helped you, and subscribe to join our community of people choosing a freer, happier life after 65. Remember, your best days aren't behind you. They're the ones you're living right now. See you in the next video.